Jim Collison, Heartland Developer Conference 2016. We're back for the final interview of the day here. I'm here with Jeff Burtoft. Burtoft.
Yeah, close.
Thank you.
Very close.
Thanks for helping. Microsoft. You're a Microsoft employee here.
I am. Yes.
Here at the conference. Why are you here at Heartland Developer Conference?
So the last few years, we've sent some of our Redmond employees out to do talks at this conference, and we've had really great responses from it.
Yeah.
It's just, this is an audience that we don't really reach through that many other channels.
Yeah, good.
So it's hopefully great for them to have us come and talk about what we're doing, how we see things. And at the same time, it's benefit for us to be able to share insight and hopefully get the developers excited about what's going on at Microsoft.
Yeah, that's
so
great.
I'm here to continue that.
Last 3 years, David Washington came from Minneapolis. Last year, I'm trying to remember who was here, but I interviewed
Chandra.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, and actually, that was really helpful because he took care of me when I went for the summit. He got me into Channel 9 Studios.
Good.
Which was amazing, by the way. Great. I mean, I learned a lot about podcasting the way you guys do it on campus at Microsoft.
Cool stuff.
Very cool stuff. And so that was great. And then good to have you here this year. By the way, I think we appreciate the city of Omaha as well as the conference appreciates Microsoft having enough of an interest to send folks here to be able to do it. That's important to us as well. What's your role at Microsoft?
Okay, so I'm a program manager at Microsoft, and that's kind of a wide term that we use for developers who kind of run things. So I am a web developer, and I look after web apps. I'm in a group that's called Partner App Experience inside the Windows team, and we're kind of the bridge in between developers and partners in the engineering team. So many times we're taking what the engineering team is doing and we're kind of dog fooding it, trying it out ourselves, and then figuring out what's going to work for developers. And then we take it out to the developers and work with them and get feedback from them about what they like, what they don't like, where they need help, that type of thing, and then bring that back to engineering to help hopefully make the development cycle go smoother and faster.
Yeah. And how is that different, or is it different from the Universal App Development Platform that's going on?
So Universal App Development, UWP, is what we call it. That's actually, with Windows 10, our brand new, we finally got there type of approach where you're developing one app that runs across all of the different devices in the Windows family. So that's really where, we work the most with developers, because that's where we're seeing the excitement. When you can write for Windows Phone, there are going to be folks out there who are excited about it. I count myself among them. But when you're writing for Windows Phone, and then it also works on PC, and then it also works on Xbox, and it also works on HoloLens, now you're talking about something that's pretty darn exciting.
Yeah.
And so that's where we get the most developer interest. So absolutely, that's where we focus on most of our time.
Yeah, in that on UWP.
UWP, yeah.
And how's the state? How do you feel about the state of where apps? I mean, we've really moved to a mobile world, and so Android and iPhone are dominating. By the way, Microsoft's doing a great job of developing for those platforms as well.
Yep.
But on the Windows side, how do you feel about the progress we're making now? There's a shift. It feels like there's a shift away from apps, but can you respond to that a little bit?
Well, first of all, you mentioned that how we do a lot of development for other platforms, and that's actually part of where we see our role as a company, is helping developers write for devices. Sometimes they're not our devices. Many times they're not our devices. So a lot of times we're looking at ways that you can write not just for Windows, but like with Xamarin, which we recently acquired, being able to write for iOS, Android, and Windows at the same time, which then makes that Windows even more attractive to developers. So as far as progress with apps, we're seeing really great response to what we've done in Windows 10, where we have that combined platform, that combined user base. And so we're seeing companies who have never brought apps to the Windows Store before now submitting those apps. I know one of my favorite, Pandora, which recently came onto the platform, is really intrigued by some of the development methods that we have in place in Windows 10, where you can build an app with web technologies in their case and have it be an app that's going to work across all those platforms. So now we have companies like that who are coming to Windows 10 that were never on the Windows Store before that. And that's excitement is encouraging. We know we still have a long way to go, but that's kind of one of the things that I hope to inspire in developers. Some excitement about what can be done with the apps themselves, and
it's interesting. I installed a PC in the kitchen, so we used a little Kangaroo PC, put it on a 23-inch Dell monitor. That has been, I have used more apps on that PC than I ever have on my desktop, Windows 10 environment. I've been I was an insider. It's touch screen, 23-inch touch screen.
See, that's one of the things, like, before we started here, Jim, we were talking about the Surface, and it's those type of devices that developers are getting really excited about, because they're differentiated. There's something different, and having a device with a touch screen, and then introducing things like pen and inking that we've recently introduced with our anniversary update. Those type of things that are getting developers excited, and actually getting consumers excited as well.
Yeah. Well, the use case shift when I moved it into the kitchen and no longer had a keyboard or a mouse. In fact, my wife just wanted to plug a mouse in. We have a little counter next to the wall where it's mounted. So it's mounted eye level on the wall in the kitchen, and it's meant for weather, recipes. Hey, Cortana.
A perfect scenario for apps.
Yeah, right on. No, it's forced me into the store. I mean, I'm a Windows Insider MVP.
Yeah.
I have not been in the store very much on the desktop.
Yeah.
Move that thing into a big ass tablet, so to speak, which is what that thing is. I'm mounted on the wall, and it's been different, and it's been interesting. It's really taught me some things about the apps and what's available out there.
Yeah.
I'm not doing my banking on it, so I'm not worried about the banking apps, so to speak. But it's got me more into the app infrastructure. Are you seeing some of that same telemetry as far as folks' usage and how it's being used and some of those things as well?
So I'll be frank, I don't have the numbers on the tip of my mind as far as what the big drivers are for apps, but I do know that those experiences that are differentiated are definitely drivers. So you mentioned you're in the kitchen with the touch screen, not having a keyboard. Well, those same type of scenarios start to appear when you're talking about things like an Xbox or a HoloLens, where typing in a URL is really painful. And so you're actually looking for an app to handle those scenarios that has really easy, navigation fitting for that platform. So those scenarios are definitely some of the ones that are driving app adoption.
Yeah, it just added a whole. Now I want to use Cortana more. In there, because you don't want to, you don't want to have to bring the keyboard up, and I do. I still bring that keyboard up, and by the way, on a 23-inch monitor, that keyboard is really useful. Down there. I mean, you can do this if you want to, and so pretty cool. When we think, so it's a little bit of consumer. When we think about the enterprise space, certainly here at the Heartland Developer Conference, we're talking to enterprise folks. And so as we see Windows 10 in the enterprise, we used to have enterprises writing all kinds of their own apps. That doesn't seem, in my world, that doesn't seem to be happening, or is it? And is that even a concern anymore? Or what's happening in this conference that you want to address when it comes from a development standpoint?
So one of the things that we want to make sure is that Windows 10 doesn't leave behind some of our legacy users, and maybe legacy isn't the right word. Maybe it's a faithful users, and enterprise is definitely one of those scenarios. So we've heard criticism in the past that we've shifted too much to UWPs, forgot about desktop apps. So that's one of the things that we wanted to make sure with Windows 10, that desktop apps were a first-class experience. And working with the UI to make sure that a desktop app will work with a touch screen as well as work really well with the traditional scenario. And enterprise is a big driver for that because we know that there's a lot of apps out there. One of the other things that we know a lot about is enterprises use the web quite a bit to do business. They'll have their, back-end systems, web portals, and all those type of things. And the browser is the mechanism that they utilize to do business. So that's one of the things that we've really focused on in Windows 10 and continue to focus on is bringing web apps and apps together. So that if you have that web app that you used to use in the browser, you can now bring that in and make it a store app, which means that in the enterprise, you can manage it the same way that you would manage a store app. It also gives you access to some of the APIs that are new in Windows 10. So let's say you have a web app, but you want to use the live tile. Well, when you're a web app in the store, we call them hosted web apps. When you're in that environment, you have access to all of those APIs, all the WinRT APIs, so you can create a live tile. You can do a push notification. Those type of things that have been difficult or not able to do in the browser in the past, you can now take that investment that you've made over the years in your web app, move it in the store environment where you get all the benefits of an app without losing the investment that you put into it as a web app.
Would that include things like Action Center and inking and some of those? Are those available today in that case?
Yeah, in Windows 10. So your entire WinRT API set is there. And so that's going to give you access to hardware like you're talking about. So you can get, deeper level pen touch input type of data. You can connect to Bluetooth, but it also gives you access to things like calendar and mail and share and all of those contracts and APIs that are out there that let you integrate more deeply with the system.
Mm-hmm. And are you seeing that? Are people starting to catch on to that? I mean, is that a message that is early, or are people starting to actually move over?
So it's one of those things, whenever we talk to enterprises, they tend to be surprised about it, which means we're probably not doing a great job of getting the news out there. Yeah. But the good thing is they tend to be pleasantly surprised about it.
Yeah, it's good news.
Yeah, because it's kind of like they know they want to move forward and they know they want to be able to get into that application management space. Yeah. But they don't ever want to leave the investment they have in the web behind. So this is a way for that to happen for a lot of them.
Well, and to be honest, some of them just made it onto Windows 7 and now are going to have to make it to Windows 10.
That's right.
The ones that are on 10 are thinking now, okay, we've got an anniversary update coming that they're going to have to manage too. There's been a lot of movement. I mean, 7, 8, 10 has shaken up the enterprise in a lot of ways, and a lot of enterprise managers are thinking, yikes, now I've got to migrate my apps. So I'm assuming you're seeing some of that too. They may not know just because they're still thinking about how to migrate onto Windows 10 to begin with, right?
Right. Yeah, and a lot of times that's part of the story. When we're talking about migrating to Windows 10, things like the long-term servicing branch is really important to them because they don't want to get their enterprise into a scenario where they have updates as often as consumers want them. So those conversations come together. It's about how can we help bring them into the future faster without putting them in a situation that they're getting ahead of, where they're comfortable.
And the store management features coming too, right?
Yes.
That are getting
stores,
better. Yeah. But that requires a commitment to be on the latest update with the store. So we got a ways to go, right?
Absolutely.
Most enterprises.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're seeing a lot of excitement from consumers about Windows 10, and we know that things in the consumer space happens a lot faster than it does in the enterprise space. So the plans that we have for the consumer space are not necessarily what we're looking to do when we partner with enterprises.
Yeah. Well, and I think there's an opportunity. You've got a lot of folks who made the migration this summer onto Windows 10 and immediately had the anniversary update available for them basically the next week. My sister was in one of those, hey,
to the
is it
last
time?
minute. Yeah.
Is it time?
Is it
I'm
ready
getting
yet?
this
Yeah.
note, and I'm like, okay, here's some. Let's back up and some things, and then we moved her on to 10, and I said, okay, you're going to get a notification in a couple weeks, and that's an update we're going to want to install as well, and that's going to add in. So she went, and actually probably the least painful way onto Windows 10, which was to nearly go right to the anniversary update, right? Which brought back almost all the right features from Windows 7, and then added some new stuff. I think some really good stuff when we think about what came in the start menu, as well as what's available with inking. I love inking on a Surface.
The Action Center is so much better in the anniversary update. Things like that. I agree. I mean, it's clearly it's brought refinements that users, it's going to make the transition a lot easier from them when they're coming from a different version.
As you guys look ahead, Redstone 2, and as we think about the store and some of the management pieces, especially when it comes to the apps, anything there that you guys have already talked about that's going to help make things better for the enterprise and consumer in the app space?
So I can't talk too much about what's coming in RS2.
I have to ask.
You have to ask. I know we're going to have more information about that as the year moves on.
Good.
It's not that we're trying to hide it. It's just that we want to make sure that we're pretty confident about what we can deliver before we go out there and talk about it. But the store is one of those spaces where we're really looking for those ways that helps users find the apps. And a lot of times they're not going to go in there and click it. So on the user end, you're starting to see things like Cortana being able to suggest apps to you when you hit a particular website that has an app associated with it. She's going to know that and be able to recommend that you try out the app as well. And so that's really great for that business who's wants a simple way to help their users discover in the store, even if they're not clicking on the icon. On the enterprise end, we're doing a lot of work with the enterprise store to make sure that that's really easy for your system administrators to be able to control what goes on to the systems, how they're updated, which apps can be seen and can't be seen.
Because they'll just lock it down.
Right.
They'll just shut it off
if
and be
if
like...
they have the choice of it being on or off, the choice is going to be off, right? Because there's that. So we want to make sure that they have ways to be able to elevate important apps from the store along with their, their enterprise apps, and just have the whole package for their users.
Yeah. Because you're in that space, does Edge play in with the new Edge browser? Do you guys live in that same world? And how are you feeling about Edge? It gets this is where moving on to the anniversary update is a big improvement, right?
It?
Because Edge gets some additional extension functionality, which as a LastPass user, I'm very appreciative of. One of the reasons I rolled back to the Insider program or got on the Insider program, because I wanted to get those
try out the extensions.
As soon as I knew the extensions were there, I signed up and got in. I was already in, but I had rolled my PCs back for various reasons. But so in your world, does Edge, what's the effect that Edge has for you guys?
So Edge is extremely important for us. I mean, it's our way of bringing the modern web into Windows and integrate it tightly. When I talked about the hosted web apps for the store, those run the Edge engine. So the more of the modern features we bring into Edge, the more that those apps benefit as well. Now, Edge was a brand new browser that we built from the bottom up. So,
literally.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So, there was a lot of features like extensions that users really wanted off the bat. So we were really excited with this anniversary update to be able to deliver extensions, because it was for a lot of users like yourself, that was the missing link. The thing that kind of pushed them back to the other browsers was the fact that they didn't have LastPass, or they didn't have an ad blocker, or whatever it was that they really needed.
And those were really the big two.
Those are the big two.
Those are the big two.
They are.
At the end of the day, they were.
But you know what? We're finding there's also so many other cool extensions out there that just makes the Edge experience, even more integrated into the OS and more functional.
Yeah, no, it's exciting to see that and I have lost touch with this, so you can decline to answer. But are we ever going to see a day when Edge gets separated out from Windows 10 from an update standpoint, so that we're not dependent upon Windows 10 being updated every time we want to get an update to Edge?
So I can't really comment on that, but I can tell you that we hear that a lot from users. We said that we don't have plans at this point to port it backwards to platforms prior to Windows 10. Like we don't have plans for it to run on Windows 8 and things of that, or Windows 7 and that type of thing. A lot of times when users are asking for it to be separate from the OS, it's because they're looking for it on other platforms. All I can tell you is continue to provide your feedback, because we're really looking to prioritize the work we do based on what users tell us that they want.
Do you get direct feedback from the feedback hub in Windows? I mean, is your team getting some of those? Because that's an amazing piece of software. I love it.
You would be surprised how deeply that information gets into the Windows team, and how easy it is for us to collect bugs and work items based off of what comes through the insider head. So, there's always different, feature requests that are coming up, or bugs that are being prioritized because of the insiders hub and the insiders providing that feedback. So that's actually, one of the top takeaways for users. Insiders, please use that hub. It's great that you're running those builds. The more feedback that you give us through the hub, the easier it is for us to prioritize the work that you all want to see.
Yeah, no, it's great. In fact, feedback has always been a mechanism of Microsoft products in a lot of ways. It was just impossible to find, and you never knew if it was ever going anywhere.
Right.
And I really feel like now the new feedback mechanism is one of, in fact, so good in a lot of ways, the way I see it. At Gallup, I have wished like that we could get feedback as a service from you guys, right? So we could kind of set up our own. That platform works so well. How could we pull that in, put our own stuff in there, and allow our customers to use that as an app or whatever, right? I mean, I think that would be hint. I think that would be awesome, because we've always dreamt of a Reddit, and that's not the right one, but of a Dig, because that's really what kind of based on vote up or vote down, and submit it, and it can get ranked, and you can find it, and you can put it together and group things together. That feedback mechanism is awesome, and
being able to see if other users have had this problem is really actually it's quite nice, because sometimes you wonder, is this just a fluke? Is this just something weird? But you go into the feedback hub and look and see, oh, hey, look, there's 10 other people who have reported this today.
On. You can get that telemetry out of it, which is really cool. That was available to us as MVPs for a lot of years before it became available to the public. And again, what was one of my favorite things. So anyways, I'd love to see that become as a service in some way and be able to use it again. We had talked before we started talking. You were also a home server guy back in the day. My roots come from Windows Home Server, and because I'll push this downstream to my tech audience as well that listens. You were struggling with us back in the day with a bunch of crazy equipment, right?
Yeah, when you were working on home server, making it better, I was out there trying to break it. That was actually one of the things that got me to love Windows. And this was before I ever worked for Microsoft. I never had thought of it, but being able to, put together some hardware and then, load on home server and set up a network inside your house and set up, I mentioned, the first time I was able to set up logins for the different computers was because I was able to have home server on my network. But then suddenly I have identities and logins, and it was just the coolest thing ever.
It's funny, you come at it from an identity standpoint, and you spend some time doing that in your current job. We all came at it also from a RAID, easy RAID standpoint. In other words, I could have a bunch of disks, didn't matter what they were, because RAID was really hard. 0506, nobody but the enterprise was using RAID, right? The average end user wasn't. We could get a bunch of hard drives, put them together, let the drive pool form, right? And it would dedupe. man, we thought that was the coolest thing since sliced
It was
bread.
the coolest thing.
Yeah, it was pretty
It's still
good, and
pretty
it
cool,
worked.
right?
It worked really
Yeah.
well for a while. Kind of went off the rails, kind of came back on, and I know with storage spaces and some of those things
Sure.
that they're working on, we're seeing some of the, although hard drives got so ahead of us that today, for most users, just go buy a 4 terabyte hard drive,
Right.
and you're going to be fine. That's what I hear from the average user today. Although the community I hang out in, and the one that's listening to this, it's not unusual to have 16 or 20 terabytes and maybe even more in their in their home server,
Okay.
or in their. I mean, a lot of folks have moved to Unraid, or they've moved into a Drobo or a Synology or a QNAP. They've moved away from the home server just because it's right and it's not supported anymore. And the ability to go on to Windows Server and use the Essentials experience was just too costly. MVP's available in our, but for the average user, that'd be a $500 jump to go on server, and no one was going to do that. So
especially when it's just a hobby, right?
Right.
So, which is what home server was often.
Well, what's ironic is on the home server side, we still have the home server show. It's still out there. We don't podcast as often as we'd like, but and it still gets great numbers. There is still, even after Microsoft killed the home server, so to speak, we still see a tremendous draw to this idea of the home server. Now we end up talking about OneDrive or CrashPlan or Synology's, QNAPs, Drobos, right? We've moved to that. And then because of Microsoft's move out of the drive pool concept, there were StableBit drive pool that came out of that, and a couple other technologies that replaced the drive pool technology. I run StableBit. It's great, runs great, pulls those things up, and I know Windows continues. On Windows 10, they continue to improve that drive pool experience or storage spaces, right? Is what we call it in Windows 10. So there is still, I think there's still enthusiasts out there.
Good.
Thinking about the old Windows home server, and you're still, what are you running from a phone perspective?
So this is a 950 Lumia 950 XL.
Still committed to it. A lot of softies have moved on to the iPhone or Android.
I'm sure. I love it. And obviously I work for Microsoft, so I'm in this world. But for me, when I see Continuum, so let me tell you one of the scenarios that really makes me love it. And I show this to my wife, and she doesn't get as excited about it. So I don't know if this is for regular people or not, but for me, I have all of my work, network, and everything on my phone, and it just works. I can access any of the files inside the Microsoft system, and my email works there. I also carry a Surface tablet around. That's my personal one, and it's not at all connected to the Microsoft world. Every once in a while, you get like an email from the boss or something, and you need to sit down wherever you are and write it. Having to do it on a phone, and granted, it's a big screen, but it's not great. It's so big that it's great for typing. But then to be able to actually use Continuum and have my Surface as the receiver and use Continuum to the new Connect app that came with Windows 10 anniversary update, I can now actually run the full mail program here on my laptop, connected through the VPN on my phone, and write an email with the physical keyboard and get work done through my phone. So those type of scenarios are it's just amazing to me. That's the reason why I just love having that as my phone, because it's not just my phone, it's like my second computer.
Continuum is one of those great products that I'm just going to struggle to see the light of day with all the other things that are going on. And because a Windows Phone is not dominant in the market, I'm just not sure it's ever going to get there. So
did you see the new HP?
I've seen the product. Yes, I haven't
Elite,
touched it, but
so that, it's just recently, come out a few days ago.
New car smell.
Right. And that's actually one of those things that's geared towards enterprise. Because those are the type of folks who are going to be in scenarios like me, who I've got a work device, and, my work device, sometimes I need to actually get work done on it. Right. And so then Continuum just becomes this amazing experience. So
Yeah.
we'll see. I agree. It's
Yeah.
really early to tell that. And we've got plans for this that are going to make it even better than it is today. But we'll have to see. But that's one of the features that keeps me excited about Windows
It could be
Phone.
interesting. I mean, it could be very, very interesting. And there's a lot of, in the lull here, as the phone has lost a little bit of market share, as Windows 10 has come out, there's been a lot of pieces that have come together.
Yeah.
And a lull in the market, I think, has allowed you guys to make some bold moves in those areas that if you'd been a leader, that may not have been made. And so I think, you never know, time will tell. Will that pay off from a market share standpoint going forward? I think there's some great technologies there. I lived and you lived through 2001, 2002, and 2003 when Microsoft tablets were everywhere, but nobody was ready for them.
Yeah.
And they were a little clunky and large and hard to work with, but I remember being in a meeting with somebody from Microsoft. I think maybe it was 05, and she pulls out, flips it over and starts writing. They were there, right? But not until we get to the Surface did that really get to a point where it really caught on, and the pen and the integration and an OS that would support it pretty well. Right. So I'm a band. I have a band too, and I love that thing. Mm-hmm. It's an everyday. For me, it's an everyday wear. Although I say that, and I have my Garmin 220 running watch on today. It was one of those things that this morning I thought, well, I'm going to be sitting down all day. I'm not going to be tracking steps, and it notifies me of everything, and it would be buzzing all day. So I made a conscious decision. Well, I'm going to throw the not so smart watch on this morning, but I love what the band does, and I bike with it all the time. A new update that came in the latest update with it works great with the iPhone. Pairs well, and so good story.
It's just another example of where we're making hardware that works with devices, no matter what they are. I use my band to I actually run. You might not tell by looking at me. But I do half marathons, and so being able to kind of use it to track my progress and my speed and my altitude and stuff like that, having the GPS built in is a really cool device for me. And I wear it all the time because now it's also my music controls, right? Just double click on it, turn your music up and down, those type of things. So no, it's been a great device, and I'm only afraid I'm going to wear it out before the new one. Mine's looking, I use it, and it gets sweaty and it gets beat on. And I ride. I've been riding. I ran for a lot of years, and it just beat me up, and so I've been starting to ride it. You ride up front, and that thing gets beat around pretty good. So we'll see how durable it is. It's coming up on the 1 year. I keep thinking if it's going to break, I'd love the anniversary of Summit would be. I bought it at Summit when it came out. It came out the same time as MVP Summit last year. So pretty exciting. Well, Jeff, thank you for taking a few minutes. I know we went way over on time. It's not often I get to chat with you guys, and so anytime we get the opportunity to do that, I appreciate it. Glad to be here.
But thanks for coming to the conference. Appreciate it as well.